Good day, guys. How are you doing today? Today we continue our lecture series. We try to solve a simple problems. Let's see one of these simple problems, how we can solve it using classes. Although we can also solve it using ordinary function in C++. But let's see how we're going to maneuver over it to use a class to solve this kind of problems. In this problem, we have to write a C++ program that reads an integer value n from the user, that at console level, and determines the value of n based on the sign of n. Set n equals 1 if n is positive number, and n equals 0 if n is 0, and n equals -1 if n is negative. Display the value of this with a clear message. Additionally, I said what we should declare it with a clear message. We don't want to use struct to handle this problem. We talk about user-defined struct in future, but let's see how we are going to solve this problem with using ordinary class and the main method to achieve this kind of problem. All right, let's look at this problem. Let's state what we are having. Like, how many variables do we have there? We have like 2 variables or 3 variables there, or 2 variables there, m and n. The value of n is determined by the value entered by m. Now, therefore, let's break them down. Write a simple C++ program that reads an integer value n. Let's make sure that our value can read a value of n. Now, how do we start? We want to use a class. Let's call it reads integer value. Then let's create a class for this, and let me terminate it here as well. Then our main method is this. In case I can increase the font, let me increase the font so that I can easily see it very well. So font, so that I can see it very well. Then let's make it 20. Then this should be okay now. Then main returns 0 because our function here that this code executed successfully, though the main is int here, so we have to return something of integer. Then let's make a program towards write a program that reads an integer value m. A program must read an integer value m. Then we can tab it. I have a code completer in my phone. Here we have cout and cin to read the value of n. This is our insertion operator. Insertion operator to insert the value of m. But we are having error here. The reason why is that we have to include our standard library. We have to include them. Include our preprocessor IO string. Then using std, using namespace std. Then we can see the error gone. But if instead of that, you can easily say this. And also, if you want to use that, you are very familiar with that, you can std this, and that also will be gone. But let me just import it once and for all using the namespace. Then I can comment this one back. Now you can see now we have it here now that this first aspect is already done. A C++ program that reads an integer value m from the user and determines the value of n based on that. Now, if we run this program now, G++ -o to tell it compile output, and let's give the name to be app, and let's just name it, okay. Let's name it as Q2. Let's just name it as Q2 result, QTR, and let's name it as you can see that there's no QTR in my directory here. So, and let's name it as let's call the file names q2.cpp. Then we've compiled it now. Then we can, if you run it now, Q2R, and you see, enter the value of n. When I enter the value of n, we can get this. You can see nothing is returned here already. Therefore, we can now continue our program now by let's follow the next one. Assign the value of n. So then let's implement this. Let's create a variable private n int n, then int n, then string. You can even have everything on the single line. String message. Here. These are private variables. Now they have a public constructor to handle this. Our public constructor will be the name res integer value this. Remember, it's going to take in what? An int m, right? Maybe value. Let's just name it as value. Then int. So now we have, let's use the initializer approach to assign value to this. N into n. Sorry, it's not n. N into value. What's the value? Then the body here. Okay, now we assign n, we use n, and it's just the same thing as saying m equals to what? M equal to what value? It's the same thing as that. So now let's try to check if n, the value says if n, sorry, what is it? If n, enter the value of n, the value of n is based on the sign of n. Set n equal to 1 if m is positive integer. Also consider this, that sign is not considered because n can also take a value, negative values. Now, let's say the value of n, if m equal greater than 0, now let's say n equals 1. And then also s if n equals to 0, n equals 0, x n equals -1. The value of n is set now. We can easily get the value of int under the same public method. That's okay. Int get value of get value of n, then return n. Understand? We can also use our this method to use this approach to calculate it by using our this method. To do that, this represents the instance of that class to instantiate the private variables, to assign value to the private variables. Then can also get this. It's also present in Java as well, using this Control S. Then can from a Control S, pressing Control S help me to format the document. Then we have it this way now. Then we should be able to get this now. Then we have, let's compile this one. Let's read the value here. Read value this. It's reading the value of m now. Then we now say, okay, the value of n is this. We get our value here by this. Then we now compile. Let's compile it back again. And let's run this. Enter the value of m, 7. The value of n is 1. Enter the value, compile it again, and enter the value will be -5. The value of n is -5. Or the value of what? M is -1. Then compile it again, put 0. Value of m is 0. But this message is not enough. Understand? You can see, you can also need to what? Improve it with the appropriate message. We can also declare what, assign the value of message to this. Let's now come here, this. We can also, in our C program, we can also check the playlist, there are C program there. You can also assign, you can also have a format. We can format a string. Now let's see how we can also format our string here. You can also use the C format here by using you see string as the header file, as the header. But you can also use our own numbers. You can also use C++ string 13 and above. C++ 13 and above. We also enable C++ 11 and above with or use GCC 13 and above to be able to check. You use GCC 13 and above. If you check my GCC compiler version, I can see my own is 15, but if you have 13 and above, you should be able to use this, what I'm telling you now. Also, what is it called? If you're also satisfied with this, you can also go with this one. Or you also need to, in your VS Code, search for Ctrl+Shift+P, R for what? Edit configuration file here. If you don't, these are my configuration file for JSON. I'm using C++ 20 now with the help of this, and it's located inside your project folder. Then you enter this and say v.vs code. You see the CPP. If it's not there, you can create it. CPP, we define name extension this way. Then you can also put this configuration file. I'm going to include it also in the link below for us as well. So you can also add it to yourself. I can use the system I'm using is 17, the C++ 20, which is the recent and modern one. And this is what it looks like. So this is my compiler here. So I also specify it there. So if you need it, I will also include it in my C program. So with the help of that, I can also include from C++ 17 and above, you should be able to use this command, format, format. Then we have this format. Then I will now have dot message equals what? Format. What is an end value is this. Can you see the value of n is this based on what n? The value of n is this, just like Rust program. Also, you have just the same way Rust formatted its own. So you can also have this the placeholder for this n. This is the under placeholder for the m. Okay. The value of n is this. This indicates n is a positive number. Then you can also terminate it with a semicolon. You can also copy the same thing and put it here for message and message. The value of n is this for when m is this. Then it's not positive number, it's 0. It's 0. Is 0. This indicates that m is 0. Is 0. The last one, the message as well, format. The value of n is this. This indicates n is what? And what is negative number. Doing this, you are sure that you get your full score, or anything somebody asks you, you'll be able to get your full answer. And then let's now return now. Remember, this is string now. We already have both information compiled in one. So that means we are returning a string, no longer an integer number. We change to what? A string. Then, and we are returning message, not n, only message here. Then we return a message here. Then we should be fine with this now. And see, you go up. You should be fine with this code. Then we can now clear. Let's compile. Let's remove this. We don't need this one anymore. Then let's, okay. It's a format. Are you saying format? It said format was not declared in the scope. Format was not declared in the scope. Why do they have formats in this code? Sorry, but that error. We have it here for this. Already, okay, to avoid wasting our time, I already have the code audio written here as well, Q11, but he also did not tell me that there is no format written in the code. Get value, std, then with C++, or maybe G. Oh, yes, I think I know what the error is now. The error is that we need to compile with C standard, C++ 20 standard, which is G++. You can std equals what? C++ 20 plus 20, then hyphen outputs. Please you need to include this one. So we are compiling to C 20 format. So it will not use the 17 standard format. So now let's use hyphen 0, that is O, not number O. Then we now give it a name, any name, Q2C. Let's just name it as Q2C and Q2.cpp. Let's compile this. Good. I think we are good to go now. No error anymore. Then we have Q2C. Let's enter it now. 45. The value of n indicates what? 45 is 1. Is a positive number. Let's this minus 787 is what? Is a negative number, and this of 0. So, okay, sorry. Yes, good. Thank you very much. Please, you can like, share, subscribe. Please, any question, please let me know. Bye-bye.